Thank
So we did 10.
So we are on
11,
13,
13.
but we have to read from Desires in the Garb of Duty.
So we'll do we'll read the shloka first, and then we'll start from here. Okay. Kakuli, will you read with me?
Yeah.
With only 2 people in class, it will be Jugalbundi. Kakuli read, Bhageshri. Kakuli read, Bhageshri.
Okay.
Prakasho pravrittischa
Aprakasho pravittisya
pramado moha eva cha
pramado moha eva cha
tamasyetani jayante
tamasyetani jayante
vivradhe kuru nandana.
vivriddhe kuru nandana. Lack of enlightenment, inertness, useless activity, and also delusion, these rise uppermost when tamas is on the ascendant, O Kurunandana. Inertness and useless activity. When tamoguna is on the ascendant, the mind, intellect, and sense seem to be covered with a haze. The mind is in a turmoil, but the impulsion to action, which is the result of Rajoguna, is absent, and consequently, there is no desire for action. In such a frame of mind, what is proper appears to be improper, and vice versa, with the result that either one is lazy or one engages in useless activity. Sleep is used not for giving rest to the body and senses, but to get pleasure, if possible, by sleeping more and more. Gradually, memory becomes weakened and the power of decision is also adversely affected. A clear understanding of the symptoms of the 3 gunas is necessary, for in the daily life of everyone, the gunas keep on predominating by turn. When Satoguna is on the ascendant, the natural inclination of the person is towards self-realization. Rajoguna induces the desire to have more of worldly enjoyments. Supremacy of Tamoguna either creates despondency or else unbridled exaltation.
So we read this last time as well. I'll just add on a couple of things, right? How do you know your mind is in Tamagun? Right? Like, the extreme forms of Tamagun where you want to hurt somebody or take advantage of other people, that hopefully comes to us very sparingly or rarely. That probably happened to us when we were children, because children have less of an intellect. So whatever guna is going through them, they immediately express it, right? They immediately express negative thoughts towards people and actions, etc. So as we grow older, tamoguna, how do we know we're in tamoguna? And the first line of the shloka answers that. When you feel you are in a complete haze. And when are we in a complete haze? When we have so many thoughts in our mind and we are constantly thinking or trying to figure out what to do, what the right answer is. When you don't have the right anchor, you're over-analyzing, overthinking everything. That is where Tamoguna is taken over, because your delusion is completely taken over.
Yeah, so basically the difference between that Rajogun and Tamogun would be when there is complete confusion, right? That confusion is a result of Tamogun. So Tamogun is on the ascendance. Why? Because when you are in that Tamogun, you have no ability to think what is right, what is wrong, right? You are unable to recall what the principles are. And that's why there is confusion, right? You don't know which of the 2 choices I should select. That time the tamogun is on the ascendance. Okay, the confusion, disillusionment happens because of tamogun, because it covers. And
so I'll just finish. The other 2 ways for you to know your mind is in Tamogun, when you start giving excuses for tasks. Right? Long list of excuses and justifications for not doing something or doing something a particular way. I did this, and all of this is Tamogun just creating more in conversation in your head. Right?
And why does this happen? Because you don't want to change your way of being, right? You want to continue to do things the way you've always done. You're in that cocoon of safety and you don't want to give it up. And you're being lazy. You're unable to change. Your inability to change is tamogun. The inability to get yourself out of that cocoon of safety you've created in whichever place of life, that is tamogun, inertia. And so you will give excuses. You will procrastinate, or you will give excuses as to why you can't do things, or you can't do thing in a certain different way. You want to continue to do it in exactly the way you've always done before, and why that is the perfect way of doing things, right? Your inability to accept someone else's point of view on something. All of this stems from ascendancy of tamogun, right? So I think what Abhinav is trying to bring out is that we've got to understand tamogun is not just like extreme evil or extreme negativity, which none of us would generally, experience in our day-to-day lives. What we experience are these other subtler ways of being. And when you start to understand those manifestations, you will realize how much tamogun is present in our lives. How much. Okay.
Like
Desires.
gossiping would also be tamogun,
Of course.
right? All of that is
tamogun.
right?
Gossip, backbiting, pramad, any kind of useless activity. All of that is stemming from tamogun. Absolutely. Right? And in that, when there is ascendancy of tamogun, you will end up doing what should not be done and not do what you should be doing. So whatever is your duty, you will not do that. Instead, you will do what you shouldn't be doing, useless activity, pramad, laziness. You'll watch a lot of Netflix. You'll end up watching 3 hours of Netflix. You'll end up spending 3 hours gossiping with friends, but you will not do what is important and what really needs to be done, because there's everything inside of you is rebelling that. राइट स्वाध्याय नहीं करेंगे बट 3 घंटे की पार्टी कर लेंगे, राइट 15 मिनट की पूजा नहीं करेंगे लेकिन वी कैन स्पेंड आवर्स गोइंग आउट और शॉपिंग. We experience it on a daily basis. Every one of us has gone through this. That is tamogun in us. Okay, that's important to recognize that. So satogun's ascendancy is marked by a thirst for knowledge. It is marked by discernment. It is marked by lightness of being. It is marked by, what they said, illumination of all our senses with prakash. What is that illumination of all our senses means? It means that we are able to exercise control on all our senses. Exercise control on our eyes, what we want to see. Exercise control on our ears, what we want to hear. Exercise control on our tongue, what we want to eat and what we want to speak, what we want to express. Exercise control on our mind, which basically means control over our likes and dislikes and how they define our action. That's the ascendancy of Satogun. Ascendancy of Rajogun is essentially workaholism. You're constantly creating more and more plans without thinking whether what is the principle behind accepting or creating new plans or accepting new responsibilities or agreeing to do new things, right? So you cannot stay still when there is ascendancy of Rajogun. There's a lot of FOMO. If I don't do this, I'll miss out on this. If I don't do that, I will miss out on that, right? So that is the ascendancy of Rajogun. An ascendancy of Tamogun is laziness, procrastination, confusion, haziness. And of course, there are extreme forms, like when you are alcohol. It's going to lead to nothing but ascendancy of Tamogun, because you drink alcohol and it clouds your judgment. It clouds your senses. It makes you slower. Right? That is why alcohol is banned in our scriptures. Why? Not because of anything else, but because of this. It increases tamogun in us, which is literally against what we are doing. That's why abuse of drugs is not supposed to be done, because it clouds all our senses. Right? Okay. Let's move ahead.
Desires in the garb of duty. Sometimes the desire for worldly gains take on the garb of duty. At such times, even though under the influence of Rajugun or Tamogun, there is a pretension of performance of duty. This calls for exercise of great caution. The test to be applied on such occasions is that whatever is done should be only for performance of a duty, irrespective of any expectation of gain or of an apprehension of any loss. Such a performance of duty would plainly be under the influence of Satagun. While doing a duty, if a desire for some gain crops up, it is a clear indication that Rajagun has taken control. And if the seeming performance of a duty is for infliction of unwarranted harm on someone, it would clearly be an act under the influence of Tamogun. Therefore, great care has to be exercised in performing duties without attachment to their results to achieve the ultimate gain of human life. It would clearly be highly imprudent to put it under effort in the performance of duty and then to be deprived of its valuable gain by allowing Rajagun or Tamogun to influence the mind.
So here, the important thing that Bhagwanji is trying to tell us is our intellect and our mind are basically, our mind is very strong, right? And it has been because of hundreds of lives that we've led and hundreds of actions that have been motivated by desires have been done. We have created certain ways of being. We've created certain habits. Okay? If we are not very, very cognizant, this is going to be, things are going to come up in a very sneaky fashion. And we won't even know. We'll think, "Arey, hum to sab kuch apni duty ke liye kar rahe hain," right? We'll try and do things. We'll put the garb of duty on motivated actions where underlying our desire is for our own benefit, for some material benefit. And we don't realize it. And then we will argue with others. And when things don't go our way, we will fight with others. We'll blame things. We'll get into this really tamoguni space where we are angry, upset, in a blaming space. But what has gone wrong is not the duty or the action. What has gone wrong is that the purpose with which we started some action was actually wrong in the first place. So we thought that purpose was Satoguni, but actually the purpose at some point of time got hijacked. Either in the beginning only it was a Rajoguni or a Tamoguni purpose, which was garbed and disguised as a Satoguni thing, or along the way it got hijacked by Rajoguni Bhav. We started off in a very positive fashion, but somewhere along the way, the Rajoguni or Tamoguni Bhav hijacks that purpose. So let me give examples, right? It's easier to visualize this. So let's take an example of parenting, right? The purpose of parenting, we understand it to be fairly clear: well-being of our children. Yeah, we want them to have good values. We want them to be good citizens. We want them to be productive people, right? That's the purpose of parenting. Now, it is at the bhav level that the guna comes in. Purpose is same for the 20, 30 years that you have, or 20 years that you have influence over that, right? Purpose is exactly the same. The bhav level is where your guna gets reflected. And in the garb of their well-being, our desire then becomes to control our children, right? It is not a materialistic gain, but our desire then becomes, you should do this, do it like that, do exactly like this. You should wake up in the morning, you should do this, you should do that. So we become these points where we've forgotten the well-being purpose. Our bhav has become tamoguni because we want to control. And it happens very naturally. And you start off with a very positive thing for a child, like wake up in the morning or do your homework, as an example. Or tuck your shirt. Yeah. Right? Like I remember my school days, right? Amount I used to get tokoffied by Aate Jate teachers, get whacked because my shirt was outside my pant, right? I have not tucked my shirt in. And I look at Vedant school as well. And there are lots of teachers who actually don't pay attention, but the couple that do, their only interaction with children is, comb your hair, tuck your t-shirt, comb your hair. Like they just walk around doing that, and I find that very funny, right? But anyway, that's a bad example. Very bad. So, okay, another example would be, I'll give from my experience, right? अब वेदांत को होमवर्क कराना है, ठीक है, अब होमवर्क करना इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर हिम, and it is, and more important is to help him develop a life skill where he understands what is his duty, and being able to he has to develop that habit of learning ki I have to give up pleasure in short term to and do work before pleasure, work before play, like help him develop that, and then along the way help him develop the sense of how to plan your day. You have so much work, so you should plan it out. All of these are life skills, and you use homework or other work that he needs to do as a medium for him to develop this behavior pattern, these life skills, right? So, and homework by itself is not that important, right? It is these underlying frameworks that he needs to learn that are more important. Now, what happens is you will tell the child what happens, and he is going to then resist. मेरे को अभी खेलना है. Morning, first thing, I want to play. And then he'll try and use, now he knows कि mama is okay to let me go if I'm reading a book. Whatever book it is, as long as it's a good book, then I don't have to do homework, right? So he'll say, I'm reading this book, I'm reading this book. He'll pick up a book and he's like, I want to read this first, right? So kids figure that out, right? And so he will try and push this out. Now, earlier at some point of time, I would give him like rope, right? I would say, acha, theek hai, chalo, you read this, you read that, that's okay. After that, you have to do this homework, you have to do this homework, right? And at some point of time, he will keep pushing the boundaries until it is really extreme. And now he's like completely like he's not done his homework, and I would get upset. Okay. And in that stage, I would say, oh, it's totally all right, right? I am getting upset and angry because he's not listening to me. When I get upset and when I scream at him, he will suddenly start to listen, and he will sit down and he will immediately do his homework, right? What has taken me 6 hours of conversation with him, now 15 minutes, it's a 15-minute homework only. In 15 minutes, he will do it and complete it, right? So I have done that, okay? And I don't feel good afterwards, right? Because I know at a base level कि यार ultimately मैंने तो अपनी अंदर की वो patience खो दी ना, and I have lost my peace of mind. I have screamed at him. Once I've screamed at him, yes, the homework will get done immediately, right? But he's left with a bitter taste in his mouth. I'm left with an angry taste in my mouth. I'm not happy. He's not happy. Generally, the atmosphere has gone wrong, right? So for a while, I struggled कि यार what I'm doing is the correct thing to do. I have to get him to do homework, right? But the result is not correct. I couldn't fathom like what's going wrong. So after some introspection, I realized that end of the day, what I'm doing is wrong, right? And after that introspection, I realized that it is not the homework that is important. I mean, yes, at a surface level, it is important, but more important are the skill sets that he needs to develop. Everything else is just a medium. Okay. And so I asked myself what are more effective ways of doing the same thing rather than getting to an extreme where I explode and there is a negative consequence for everybody, right? The symptoms or the results that I see, right? The the after effects that I saw told me that there is tamoguni, this thing in it. That what I'm doing is tamoguni. It's not satoguni, even though I am garbing it as a satoguni thing, or the reason was initially satoguni and eventually it became tamoguni, right? So I have to change something there. Now, what I have started to do is I tell him, you don't want to do it with that, don't do it, right? And this is a everyday conversation, whether it's taking medicine for which he will throw a tantrum, whether it is, doing homework. I now leave it at him. I tell him, Vedant, these are the consequences. Whether it is brushing, homework, medicine, and I'm telling you all these things because since morning I've had all three conversations with him, right? Brush nahi karna hai, medicine nahi leni hai, homework nahi karna hai. So I have to tell him these are the consequences, positive, negative. If you do this, this is the consequence. If you do that, these are the consequences. You are now old enough. I don't want to force you to do anything that you don't want to do. Okay, you don't want to take the medicine, don't take it. This is this thing. For brushing, I again told him example of my childhood, what I went through, or I could show him what is Nanu going through with his teeth right now. And then I leave it at that. I'm like, now, Vedant, you choose. You're old enough to make that choice. And I'm okay with the choice that you choose because ultimately you have to live with it. I don't have to. I have made my choices of life and I'm living those out. Now you decide what you want to do. You can see these consequences. And this is how it has happened. And I always try to now bring up examples from my life where I have made those same mistakes to show him that it's okay. All of us make mistakes. I have made those too. And these are the consequences I went through. This is what happened that caused me to make a different choice. And now this is what I'm doing. So now it's up to you, right? And I leave it at that. And every single time, Vedant, after like thinking it through, he makes a choice of doing the right thing. Like he wants to do the right thing. He just doesn't want to be forced into it. He wants to feel like he has that freedom of choice, and he wants. So this is like a very like this is an example that I'm giving you because it's an everyday example that I have struggled with, and I would constantly slide into tamogun after a while with Vedant, and we would end up creating a lot of stress in the house, right? And I couldn't for a while figure out like what am I doing wrong? Like this is the right thing to do. If I don't do it, then his life will be spoiled. Blah blah blah, right? Ultimately, I have found when I did not give up on telling myself that this is a wrong way of behavior. My purpose is right, but I'm not somewhere along the line. I'm getting tamoguni, right? I had to, when I kept looking for the right way of behavior, change. Now I have found this way of being, which leaves a positive thing and remains like everybody remains calm in that. But I did have to give up my sense of control and be ready to accept that there will be times when he will not do his homework. Things will remain undone. Like yesterday, he didn't complete everything that he was supposed to. And today morning we had that conversation. I told him, Vedant, you have to learn that you have not yet figured out how to plan things or appropriately time yourself. And that's okay. But it's something that you need to become aware. What caused you to go wrong? So I have to make sure that I'm not attached to the idea कि ये तीन चीजें homework होनी ही है आज. नहीं होगी तो नहीं होगी. That homework is very small thing. It doesn't matter whether it gets done or not. But is he able to realize, right? You know, that ability to go down the thing, that as to what is really important and not get stuck at the surface. अरे उसने एक writing वो नहीं किया, वो नहीं हुआ तो नहीं हुआ यार. Long term it doesn't matter, right? Sorry.
Yeah, so there are lots of these, and in almost all of our duties, right? We may even start with the right bhav, but when our prarabdh comes up, right? When the situation actually comes up, the VVGP comes up, that a person who irritates you will show up in office. That Satuguni bhav will very quickly become Rajuguni or will become very quickly Tamaguni, right? Every time, anytime your ego comes in, which is the sense of ownership or control, the I, me, myself, I'm doing this for me. How come I didn't get praised, right? He did not acknowledge this. I sent my document, I worked in it all weekend, sent it Monday morning, I got no acknowledgement. He took credit for my work. Ownership is ego or sense of control. As Tuvina said, we tend to control our kids. Both of them are reflection of ego, and any act we do which is reflection of ego is Rajuguni or Tamaguni, because it's filled with desire to be adulated or desire to achieve something in this world.
Yeah, or desire to have that sense of control.
Correct.
Over our
So
environment.
you do a job, you do a really good job in the office, you don't get that promotion or acknowledgement. Forget promotion, you don't get acknowledgement. You immediately feel like, eh, he responded to my email but didn't even like acknowledge the effort I put. Andar aata hai for that quiet second. You just need to be aware of that quiet second and say, hey, that's just my Rajugun. Satagun is give this to Bhagwanji. This is, I'm doing it for him. Swaha. Right? That's what desires in the garb of duty mean.
And this is the most important piece because this is how tamogun, rajogun constantly creeps in our everyday lives. This is you and me on a daily basis.
And this is not just in worldly activities. This is a really big experience you'll have even in your spiritual journey. You become attached to spiritual things. You become egoistic. I'm doing class. You don't know. You're not. You listen to me.
Can you please
I'll
repeat
tell you.
like what you said, Abhinav said, can you please explain one more time?
On
Like,
this,
you said, right, like you give it to, because Sataguni, it's move into Rajgun or Tamagun. So even kids or whatever it is, you have to surrender to the God. So in between line, I couldn't able, like, can you explain what you said just before?
so whenever you do any duty, you either are doing it for your ego or you're doing it for Bhagwanji. If you're doing it with identification of ego, that basically means you are looking for adulation or praise because you want ownership, you want to feel good, or the second is you want to get something, materialistic thing. Any act that we do, if that becomes our silent desire, we need to become aware that, hey, look how important adulation is, or look how important promotion is. But that is not why I am doing it. I am doing it because of my bhav of Lok Sangrah, to give back to this world. Simple. We as human beings, we have taken more from this world than we can ever give. I wouldn't even be able to know how to make this t-shirt that I'm wearing. Forget the clothes, forget the apartment building, whatever. I'm just taking from society. My job, 9 to 5, is just my way of giving back as Lok Sangraha, so that the system becomes stronger. That's it. In that, as system becomes stronger, I will become stronger. If my company does well, automatically I'll be part of it. I may not get praise now, but I might get praise 18 months from now. I may not get promotion now. I might get a massive promotion 2 years from now. How Bhagwanji plays the cards, we don't know.
Or maybe I will never get that
Or maybe I will
promotion
never.
because of my previous prarabdha that I need to get out of, right? It will, end of the day, it will help me. Whatever is happening is helping me, but I may not be able to see it with our own limitations, right? It's time and space limitations that we have.
I have one question. Sorry to interrupt. Like whenever I'm guiding giving the direction to the kids, it's happening to every house, right? So when you interact with the kids, usually I take or I'm controlling, nothing I do. But usually what I thought, right? So this, if we give good guidance, whatever it is, in a good way, what you said, like they have to, because they have to face the society, they have to, only the society should not be they should not be burdened to the society. They have to go do the good things. That's why we are guiding them. So that way only, I'm always thinking when I'm giving the guidance or directions, whatever it is, I usually think it's not, I'm not giving for myself or my kids. I'm only giving, they have to come out in the good way. They have to come out, not for us, not for the parents. It's a for the society. They have to live with the society in future. It's a now kids, but they have to come out. Say if they good thing or bad thing, it's a entire thing. It's a reflection to from house to where we live, right? So is that good way, or should I change, or like I'm asking, is that what my thinking is? I'm usually I'm telling, because when I tell, I'm not saying I'm controlling. It's good thing for them, so they can at least reflect, and they can take intake, and then their choice. I'm what I you said, right, to you are giving the choice, and then choose. They can choose from them. Like they have to realize, and then they can choose, right? So always when I guiding them, I also see, like I'm connecting their soul actually. When they are not listening or listening, usually I connect the soul and then giving the instruction to them. Is that the right way to do, or should I change?
You want to take that?
Yeah. So you can take it.
I think the purpose in general, the way you've articulated, is obviously Satoguni, right? But I think what is important is to um, uh, how to assess whether it is what you are doing and how you're doing it is Satoguni or Rajoguni or Tamoguni, is the after effects. Like in my case, I would say that even that bhav of, like, getting him to do homework, getting him to be a good student, good whatever, all of that is Satoguni, right? But like I have discovered at least three different ways in which I have done it and I've executed it. In two of them, the after effects are not very pleasant, right? Everybody's left with a feeling of like heaviness or upset, right? And if that is the after effect, then the way we've executed it is a very tamoguni way. तो larger purpose हमने बना लिया सतोगुनी, बीच में फिर then we put in the tamogun, and if we have left everybody in a end state is tamoguni, तो फिर then we've done it all wrong, है ना? So if you have hurt people along the way in the garb of trying to do your duty towards them, then that is not correct. Okay. If you hurt people along the way, then you've not done your duty, essentially. So that is what is very important. Even if you're doing things for others or trying to do or look out for their benefit, you have to challenge yourself to always find a way where end state is that everybody's feeling light and happy.
Okay.
And if we don't achieve that, which will happen all the time, and it's okay, you should not like hurt yourself or like, self-inflict harm for, or why did I do this? ठीक है यार, हो गया. The important thing is to go back and figure out what could I have done better so that end state, everybody's feeling light, happy, calm, and peaceful.
Yeah.
If the end state is that, then awesome.
See, now in your example, I can also foresee a scenario of Visalakshi where you do it with the right bhav or claim to do it in the right bhav. You're saying the right thing. You're saying, I will connect them through the soul, tell them what they have to do, give them the choice, all of those things. When the outcome is achieved, if you feel proud about it, then you've actually done it with a Rajoguni bhav. Because you've now taken credit for it.
Okay.
Ego, like, I created this, I did this so well for my children, I'm a good mother. Not realizing, no, all you've done and all we need to do for our children is point them in their own soul so that they learn to listen to that voice and live the life of their purpose, which is something you and I will never be able to see. Right? That's what this highlights. Desires in the garb of duty. Like you can seemingly do it right, but if you feel, I'm such a good mother, gone. Gone. That's your Rajoguni Tamoguni bhav.
Correct.
Hey, look at her. She doesn't know how to be a mother. I'll tell you. Tamoguni bhav. There you go.
Bilkul.
Yeah.
Judgment on others, immediately you know it is a tamoguni bhav.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And similarly, judgment for yourself, right? Judgment when you're in a space of judgment, know that it is, if it is not already in a tamoguni space, even if it starts from a rajoguni space, it will end in tamogun. Judgment never leads to anything good. And that's why even when you do something, you recognize for yourself that you did something that is not as prescribed by scriptures, recognize it for what it is and learn from it. Figure out what next you have to do, which will be better, but don't judge yourself also. Don't get into a tamoguni space. How did I do it? Why did I do it? I'm feeling so upset. I'm feeling so angry. That has no space. It's in scriptures, there is no space for it. In your journey, there is no space for that negative feeling. It's okay. Bhagwan Ji made you probably do it so that you can become aware of what is inside of you that you need to weed out. Similarly for others. But it starts from ourselves. We are harsh on others and we give so much judgment on others because we do that first to ourselves. We are very unkind to ourselves. The unkindness we show to ourselves is the unkindness that we reflect outside in the world. So if you see yourself behaving poorly with others, I think the important question is to ask, where are you behaving exactly in the same way with yourself? When you accept it for yourself and you become compassionate to yourselves in those situations, automatically you will become more compassionate to others. Right? And we keep talking about compassion to others, compassion to others, compassion to others. It can happen as an action for a moment, but it can never become a state of being for you unless you have learned to become compassionate to yourself in that situation first.
Thank you. Thank you for clearly explaining. Thank you.
Okay, Nena, you want to read the next?
Connection. In the three foregoing shlokas, the Lord described the characteristics of three gunas, which would help in identifying which guna is on the ascendant. The Lord now tells the direction which the individualized self takes when it leaves the mortal coil in the ascendancy of each guna.
So this is the gati. In Hindi, the word is gati. The direction that we take is the gati that is there for our soul. Where are we going to go? The consequences beyond. Okay? Yada sattve pravradhetu
यदा सत्त्वे प्रवृद्धे तु
प्रलयं याति देहभृत्
प्रलयं याति देहभृत्
तदोत्तमविदां लोकान्
तदोत्तमविदां लोकाम्
अमलान् प्रतिपद्यते.
अमलात् प्रतिपद्यते. When the embodied one dies during the preponderancy of sattva guna, one attains the pure realms of experiences of the sublime. The attainment of heavenly realms by one who dies in the ascendancy of sattva guna. The moment of dissociation of the physical coil from the individualized self is said to be the moment of death. If at that moment Sattva-guna is predominant, the self gets new mental and physical equipment which enable it to experience heavenly pleasures. Generally, people think these realms to be physical in the sense in which the earth is a mass of physical matter. But it is not necessarily a physical concept. In visualizing these realms, physical matter is not important. What is important is the experience felt in consciousness. When death occurs in the dominance of Sattva Guna, the realms attained are heavenly. The attainment of such realms means that at that time the consciousness does not experience any imperfections or taint of unhappiness. Consciousness experiences pure illumination and chastity. In such realms, contact with other such beings is also established, whose consciousness is well advanced in the path of self-realization.
So this is the result, direction, or the consequence of when you die in a state where there is ascendancy of Satokun. Now, this is why in our scriptures, if you look at the Vedas, where they describe what activities to do, right, actions to do, they tend to always say that when somebody is nearing their death, so, scriptures chalao, Gita ke, lessons chalao, or do a havan, all those things are generally done. Right? So they will end up doing जैसे वो कहते हैं ना chapter 2 को चला दो, let the person listen into it so that their intellect starts to do, like, start to get out of the materialistic bondages and starts to be in a more satoguni bhav. Why? Because once that happens, when you die in a state of ascendancy, in a state of satoguni's ascendancy, at that time your consciousness, you will be equipped basically with new um, emotional, mental, metaphysical equipment that will allow your soul, your consciousness, to feel calm, to feel peace, to feel whole and complete. Okay. And that sort of a soul, when it takes the next birth, which is what we call felicity of heaven, they will be in a space where they will receive a lot of felicity of heaven, even in this life as well as in an afterlife, right? Where you're feeling calm, where you're feeling complete, you don't feel like you need something from outside, you feel love, and you will get satsang of other beings of consciousness who are also very high on the path of self-realization. You will get the satsang. Satsang is very, very important. So there also you will get satsang. So your soul is going to be calm. Okay. You add anything?
Um,
We'll move on. Rituj, will you read with us?
So I think the only thing I want to add here is the very last line that is mentioned in this shloka. In such realms, contact with other beings is also established, whose consciousness is well advanced in the path of self-realization. I want to highlight that being in Satagun alone doesn't mean you will hit self-realization. You advance the path because you're feeling light, bliss, happiness inside of you. But the other two gunas also are there because it's a thread and a strand, right? But being in Satagun long enough with the right bhav, It is his grace when we do bhakti that helps us achieve self-realization, because we go one level higher. Gunatit, above good, above the three gunas.
The Lord now describes the realms attained by those who die in the preponderance of Rajogun and Tamagun.
Rajasi pralayam gatva
Rajasi pralayam gatva
karma sangeshu jayate
dharma sangeshu jayate
tatha praleenastamasi tatha praleena tatha praleenastamasi
tatha pralina tamasi
मूढ़यो निषु
murayo nishu jayate. Dying at the time of preponderance of Rajas, one is born amongst those who are fond of activity, and dying at the time of preponderance of Tamas, one is born amongst unthinking species.
So, just a quick point, right? That didn't mention in the last shloka as well. Why are we talking about the time of death? The dissociation of the mortal physical coil. Why is this being mentioned? This is being mentioned is because when you are at your time of death, which all of us will at some point be, the guna that we have constantly kept in our mind as our bhav is the guna we will have at that time. Because at that time of death, we'll have no choice. Our habits will take over because this is war for us. But if we have lived our life in Satugun, focused our mind on the right principles, achieved bliss, happiness, not have fear towards life, then that is what will be experienced at that last moment. If you are in Rajagun at the time of death, you will have, oh my God, I have to do my will. My son has to do this. My mother, I have to do that. Oh, my bank account, I don't know who the next of kin is. Ab wahan se wo land paper, I don't know where it is. Tamagun, why me? Why do I always get sick? Why is it happening to me? Why not the other person? I'm so much younger. Whatever conversations happen. But what you experience at that point of death is a work that you do your entire life. That is why it's very important for us to do work now. And you will read the consequences of what this means when you have a Rajaguni bhav at the end or a Tamaguni bhav at the end. What are the consequences of that? Yeah, Rutuj.
Direction taken after death in the predominance of Rajas and Tamas. Death at the time of predominance of Rajas.
Rituj, can you come closer? Your voice is very weak.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better. Thank you.
Death at the time of predominance of Rajas results mainly in birth in human species, with volition to perform acts in pursuance of desires. But death at a time when tamas is predominant leads to birth as an animal, insect, bird, and the like, who are devoid of thinking facility and who live by their instincts only. An important point to be understood is that the freedom to perform action is available only in the human form. Birth as a human being provides the golden opportunity of performing dedicated acts which lead to supreme bliss of self realization, whereafter there is no compulsion to be born again. In the heavenly realms, there are plentiful pleasures, and on attaining those realms, there is no need to work for pleasures. The pleasures abide one's desire only. Even though these forms are highly pleasurable, there is a compulsion to be born again as a human being if salvation is desired. In this connection, Shlok 41 of chapter 6 may be recalled, where it was told that if death occurs while pursuing a yoga discipline, it results in enjoyment of heavenly felicity for a long time, and then birth occurs in the human form. This happens if there's a lapse in pursuing the discipline, but there is abiding faith in the discipline. Such yoga lapsed beings are born in the families of prosperous, pure hearted persons or in the families of yogis. The rule is that while the result of virtuous acts done in pursuance of desires is enjoyment of heavenly felicity, when the effect of the virtuous acts fades away, it results in being born as a human being, which is the only form in which one can get equipped for realization.
Okay. So there's basically Bhulok. This is the background of this shlok, right? So there is Bhulok, and then there are 7 realms of heaven on top, and there are 7 lower realms, 7 upper realms which belong to heaven, and 7 lower realms that belong to hell. Hmm? In both the 7 upper realms and 7 lower realms, there is no opportunity to do yoga. They are only bhog yoni. Bhog yoni. Okay. Bhog yoni in the sense that there is no choice of any kind. All right. You only extinguish your karma by experiencing pleasure or pain or suffering, whatever you're supposed to experience. But you have, and your behavior is hardwired. Your behavior is hardwired. Your behavior is going to be instinctual. You will have no choice in the matter. All right. A deer, the moment he's going to have lots of eyes in a lot of light in its eyes, it is going to freeze. It doesn't have the ability to think, to run. Okay. The moment the light goes off, then instinctively, if he feels scared, he's going to run. Those are instincts. He will always behave as per those instincts. All right. It hears something, it is going to run. If there is smell, then an animal that is hardwired to reject that smell or to be attracted towards that smell, it will do that. A moth is hardwired to be attracted towards light. Even if it burns him out, it is going to go there and it will burn itself out. All right. It does not have the ability to have a choice in the matter that, oh, I'm seeing so many other moths go there and die. Maybe it's not a good thing for me and I should not do it. He will go there and he will die. Okay. So in the 7 upper realms of devas, in the 7 lower realms of animals, there is no choice in the matter. You will behave as per your hardwire. Okay. So these are bhog yonis. You go to these bhog yonis to extinguish your good or your bad karmas. All right. So if you've been doing a lot of good things with Sakam Bhav, all the good things, I'll do all the things as per the Jivan Yagya that has been prescribed to me, help others, not take other people's things, do all my Yagya that I'm supposed to do the seva of others, but all of this with the Sakam Bhav of wanting better things for yourself so that I don't incur anybody's wrath, so that I don't, so that I don't end up doing anything, bad. I don't want to be, I don't want to be born as a cripple, as an example. I want all good things for myself. And I'm doing it out of fear of the bad things, or I'm doing it for getting the good things. All of these are Sakam Bhav, right? You do all the right things with Sakam Bhav, you will get heavenly felicity. Heavenly felicity, you will go in that form which was described in that Satoguni space, right? You will get the heavenly felicity. And even when you're born in this world, you will be born with a lot of, benefits and like good things of life. You don't have to work very hard for getting material things, right? All of this is heavenly felicity. Okay. And even in like afterlife, you will go through an experience of life where you will get things that you need to experience. Okay. If you do a lot of negative things, you have done a lot of things out of tamogun in your life, right? And you die in a space of tamogun. And as we've described, tamogun doesn't just mean, extreme forms of tamogun. There are extreme forms of tamogun and extremely tamoguni ways of dying that we would know. But it is not just those. There are a lot of other tamoguni ways of being, which are heavily present in our lives that we don't recognize or don't understand them as tamoguni. But now we have. Now that we are going through this chapter, we'll recognize, Arey, मेरी तो life में बहुत tamogun है, which I never saw. I never thought of this as tamogun, right? If you die in the space of tamoguni preponderance, then you will go to the 7 lower realms. Again, bhogyoni, where there will be some form of suffering, right? For example, somebody who has a lot of laziness, right? Who just wants to lie around. He will be born in a yoni where he will get to extinguish that vasana of his. Just lie and sleep. Don't move too much. Sloth, as an example. You'll be born as a sloth. Experience that sloth that you want to really, really experience. You don't want to be born as a human being. What your vasana is to just lie around like a sloth. Go be born as a sloth and really experience it. Fulfill that vasana of yours to just lie around and do nothing. And the associated suffering of it. You will experience it, you will fulfill it, and then you will go to the next vasana to extinguish, right? And this was what was explained in chapter 6 as well, when they said that, if the last thought in your mind is that of Bhagwanji, you will attain him. If the last thought in your mind is that of an apple, you might end up becoming that little वो क्या कहते हैं उसे, वो छोटा सा जो कीड़ा होता है जो एप्पल में रहता है. You wanted apple, now get an apple. जो भी हमारा लास्ट थॉट होता है. Similarly, जो भी हमारी preponderance है, that will determine which yoni we go into. And like Abhinav very clearly articulated, the last thought in your mind, the last preponderance of the guna in your mind will be that which you have lived most of your life. You cannot suddenly change that last minute thing. It's an average, some total average of what your entire life has been. That's why you need to work on every moment of your life to make sure that the sum total in the end is, Satogun or whatever else that you need to get into, right? So, but if you are in that Rajoguni space, right, then you are born in the human form, right? If your preponderance has been Rajogun. And Rajogun typically means Sakam Bhav of some kind, right? Where you've been working with this thing. But in that Rajogun, then you are and even after you have completed all your vasanas of the Satoguni Bhav, or not the Satoguni, like basically when you work with that Sakam Bhav, everything good, 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 then you go into that upper 7 realms, Rajoguni, but with the Sakam Bhav, where you've done a lot of good things, you go into the upper 7 realms, or with the Tamoguni, you go into the lower realms. Ultimately, you have to come back into the Yog Yoni. That Yog Yoni is only one Yoni. And that Yog Yoni is the Bhulok, where you're born as a human being. The only Yoni which Bhagwanji has created in his own image. Because he has created it in his own image, is the only yoni in which we have the ability to make a choice, where we are able to get over our instincts, where we can curb our instincts and create naveen action. We can create new actions, which can replace our old tendencies, our old habits, our old instincts. This is the only yoni in which we can actually get moksha, free ourselves of all our vasanas. Okay, so this is the only yoni in which you have the ability to attain your freedom. Everything else is enslavement of some kind, right? Even if it's a golden chain, it's still a chain. If you have done a lot of good things, right, in your previous life, if it's a kambha, you will attain your heavenly felicity. After that is, after you have attained that, you are born into human form. Now, which way or what kind of family, what kind of VVGP that you will be born in as a human form to try and find your freedom again, depends on what you have done in the past and what vasanas, what bondages, what things that you need to clear out. People who are extremely yog bhrasht, right? People who have really gone very far in their path will be born in families of yogis, so that their environment already is pre-geared to help them in their journey, right? For example, Nikunj Bhaiya, born in the family of yogis, right? Maiya Ji ke bete. He is born in a family of yogis. तो उन्होंने बचपन से उनके जो संस्कार है, but that's not because वो आज suddenly हुआ है, right? He has done lifetimes of sadhana to be able to get that felicity of heaven, to be born in that family of yogis. He is very far along. That's why he has received that sort of a birth, right? Similarly, all of us, every one of us in this satsang today is heavily yog bhrasht, right? Heavily yog bhrasht. Because आप सोचो आप 7 billion people on this earth, How many people, we are all top 1% of this world. We don't have to think about a chat on our heads. We all have excellently beautiful, comfortable houses. You don't have to think कि कल बारिश हो जाएगी तो फिर मेरा घर फ्लड हो जाएगा. You don't have to think कि कल मेरे घर पे खाना मैं ला पाऊंगी या नहीं ला पाऊंगी. All of us get access to healthy food. We get access to clean drinking water. We have access to to good medical facilities. If any one of us or our parents or our children fall sick, we have access to good medical facilities. We have help. We have people. हम लोग पूरा दिन झाड़ू पोंछा बर्तन करने में नहीं बिताते हैं, right? You're not spending all your time in that. You have so much time on your hands. You have Gita in your hands. This is the life. It's a Rajasi life. All of us are living like kings and queens. We have people waiting on us everywhere. Bus is waiting on us. Cabs are waiting on us. People are waiting on us in hotels. We have people coming in our houses for help. We are living life. If we see it properly, we are living a life of a king or a queen on a daily basis. But we act as beggars. We still act as beggars. Constantly hankering after this or that. ये नहीं है मेरे पास, ये नहीं है. I can't afford a cruise. I want to live life like where I should only be flying first class, only living in 5-star hotels. Beggars की तरह behave करते हैं हम लोग. ठीक है? So actually में all of us have done a lot of hard work in our previous lives, which has taken us forward in our path of self-realization. That's why भगवान जी ने आज हमें ऐसा मौका दिया है कि यार, you are not in that Maslow's hierarchy where you are on the lowest of the hierarchy. कोई बंदा जो who's born in a place where he, like, think about our helpers. They don't have access to education. They don't have access to clean drinking water or food, or like, they have to go through so much of life. So much life has to inflict on them. They don't have time to sit down and think about self-realization. They're very low on Maslow's hierarchy. You and me are not like that. We are very high on our Maslow's hierarchy. Our parents have done so much to get us to this level today. अब इस level पे भी आकर,
That said, like on the helper piece, just to add, they may be low on Maslow's hierarchy, but they could be spiritually far more advanced than us.
that is true. But what I'm
Far
trying
more
to,
advanced.
yeah, absolutely. Like our helper, we've recognized her to be a much higher karma yogi than both of us combined. And we've seen her in moments of adversity, how she comes through and does not give up her duty. She may not have,
She may have $2, she'll happily give $1 to a friend if she needs it.
Correct.
Without,
And she does that
and then
regularly.
we tell her like, she's like, हाँ दीदी उसने फिर पैसे वापस नहीं दिए. And she won't even cry about it. But there's small things like that that go to show कि how generous, how giving they are.
हर बार वो घर जाती है, कहीं भी बाहर जाती है, she'll buy things for Vedant. इतने से पैसे हैं, उनमें से आधा वो वेदांत पे खर्च कर देती है.
Forget Vedant, for Tuna and me,
हाँ.
birthday gift she gives.
Right. And
And
we
we're
have to
like,
tell her, यार मत करो, मत ले लो, तुम्हारा.
my mother is not giving me birthday gift for 20 years. What do you?
Correct. So the point is that we have to recognize कि हमने कितना कुछ किया है लाइफ में to get this opportunity today. And we should not waste it now by becoming beggars and wasting our precious breaths that we have on petty things. बहुत ही precious birth है और बहुत ही precious environment दिया है भगवान जी ने हमें, where he has enabled the environment for us to spend our hours, if we choose, on our path of self-realization. And that does not mean कि अब हम 6 घंटे बैठ के पूजा में बैठे हुए हैं और अपनी सारी, we are letting go of all our duties. I had sent that sharing on the group, which very clearly articulates कि बस बैठे रहना और पूजा करते रहना is not doing our duty, is not a path to self-realization in and of itself. Used as the tool in the right way, it is a very, very satoguni tool to put us on that path. But उसके ऊपर चिपक जाने से it will become a tamoguni thing for us and will not lead us on the path of self-realization. So this entire life, every single second, we should be extremely aware of our privilege extremely grateful for this privilege. And with that sense of extreme gratefulness, every moment, every breath we take should be dedicated to the Lord and be done only as an act of seva. Everything we do, every thought we have, every act we do should be an act of seva.
So let's open the beginning of the book, right? There is a, there, I don't know what page it is. It is in the new book, but there is a page that says notes. It looks like this, beginning of the book. So it will come right after, I don't know, after preface, after about this book, uh, publisher's note for publishing team. There is this page notes where it says purpose of life. Have you guys found it? Yeah. Uh, Ritu, do you mind reading the first one?
The purpose of life. While engaged in the struggle for survival, living beings strive to achieve happiness, satisfaction, and peace.
So we know this to be true, correct? All of us can say hand on heart, this is what it means to be a human being. We are constantly looking for happiness, satisfaction, and peace. Next.
Animals driven by their instincts like hunger, lust, etc., seek them in food, sex, and sleep.
So animals as living beings are also looking for happiness, satisfaction, and peace, but they seek them in food, sex, and sleep. And depending on the type of vasana or desire you have, you're born in a particular type of animal that has more food or more sex or more sleep, like a sloth, right? Or a bear that hibernates for 8 months a year. Next.
Human beings equipped with intellect seek gratification in all these, but at the same time, they also strive continually for betterment. This betterment may relate to food, clothing, financial status, popularity, power, and the like, with the hope that a betterment in any of these directions would bring in more happiness and satisfaction. But more often than not, this quest for betterment lands one in tensions, worries, and frustrations, and one wonders if life was meant only to be spent in endless strife with broken hopes and unfulfilled desires.
Okay, just pause here. This part makes sense, right? Human beings will also seek gratification in food, sex, and sleep, but we are also given an intellect that allows us to become a better version of everything. We can create better food, we can have better sleep, we can have better life, comforts, and we can become better versions of ourselves. So we take all of that intellect to make our sensual experiences better and better and better. And then we wonder why we don't have more happiness, satisfaction, and peace. Is this relatable? This is how we've designed life right now, right? So this highlights, I thought, very beautifully what we are reading right now about Rajaguni and Tamoguni. If you use your intellect only for betterment of food and sensual pleasure, then you will be born as a Tamoguni person who can enjoy that for the rest of your beings, many, many beings, till you satiate your vasana. If you use that betterment to start working on yourself and giving back to society, then you're doing Rajoguna. And now if you add that next part of the paragraph, you will do Satoguna. So you can finish the rest part.
Surely this could not be the purpose of life of man, whom God made in his own image. If baffled by heartbreaking experiences or driven by a genuine solicitude for knowledge, one seeks guidance of some enlightened soul. One would learn that God made man so that he might attain godhood or divinity, which is nothing but his own innate being. Utilization of human life for attainment of this objective is indeed the real adroitness of a person.
So just before this line, it was mentioned, uh, driven by genuine solicitude for knowledge. One seeks guidance for some enlightened souls. This is the starting point of Satagun. This is the starting point of using your intellect with the right principles.
And this is the start of what 2.07 in Gita. This is the starting point for us when we do Karpanya Dosh and we seek that guidance with Karpanya Dosh. That is why Karpanya Dosh is very important and we invoke it at the beginning of our classes.
Yep.
The Holy Gita and other scriptures guide man in the path of the supreme attainment. It is the unique privilege of every man to attain the supreme state, whereby the sun would rise at his behest, the moon would shine at his bidding, and the wind would blow at his command. Man is made to succeed to this glorious heritage and is certainly not meant to make the grave the goal of his life, treading his weary path with halting, cringing steps.
And this is what Tuina mentioned earlier, that we have the life of a king, but we choose to live like a beggar. Bhagwanji is saying, come, take the whole world. And you're like, I don't want the world. I just want one extra car. That's all. I don't want the rest of the world. I thought this one point summarized the journey of man very, very well. Ha, Kakuli.
Thank you. This is so profound. I have just one question. Like a pet dog, he is born into one of the lower realms, and like he is supposed to extinguish maybe one of his bad karmas, and that's why he is in a life where he has no choice. It's more instinctive. How does he move up? Because he doesn't have the intellect like a human being. Then how is he moving up into the higher realms?
See, the thing I'll always say is Gita is meant to be applied to yourself. This knowledge is not for us to understand how the whole world and all the structures work. Even if it is, I'm not there yet. So I cannot comment necessarily on any of this. I know there are lots of Gita um, gurus we've had in our parivar who have animals, and some of the stories, pets, and some of the stories they share are just mind blowing, like beautiful, right? How much bhakti, how much loyalty these dogs have. But their journey is Bhagwanji's grace. I can't really comment beyond that. I can only comment on how this Gita applies into our lives.
I'll just add to that. See, all of us, like Bhagwanji's clearly told us that when you are going to die in a state of preponderance of tamogun, and when we are in a state of preponderance of tamogun, essentially, we are acting out of our instincts, right? That means we are acting out of certain old habits where we are living a certain vasana out, right? Depending on, like now, tamogun is a very large space, right? What type of tamogun, what type of vasana has been driving us? What has been the preponderance of our life? That vasana is what we need to extinguish, because that's what we have been asking for all our life through our actions, through our behavior. That will determine which lower yoni we are born in. However, as with everything else, there are gradations for everything. Depending on now, every dog will have certain type of vasana that he has to fulfill, and so the souls are born as a dog. But then associated other things that we have done, that's why we are all unique, right? The household or the place a particular dog is born will determine the rest of his other experiences as a dog, right? हम सब human beings की तरह born हुए 7 billion of us, but depending on other associated so basically we are all ready to go back to the path of self-realization, right? But जिस environment में हम लोगों को place किया है is dependent on other activities, right? Nikunj Bhaiya is born with in Maya as a Mayaju's son, right? But I'm not there. Or somebody who is born in a place where he has no idea or has never heard of God, or somebody who is born in a space where he has a lot of hard work to do and has no time to like spend on scriptures, right? Depends on, right, all our other things that we need to extinguish कि हम कहाँ born होंगे. वैसे भी as a dog, where will he be born? I have seen dogs who are spending all their time in a temple ka compound, or a dog that is born that is listening to satsang on a daily basis because his owners are listening to that satsang on a daily basis, right? तो वो तो उनकी अपनी वो है, but as a dog he will live his life as a bhog yoni, okay, absorb whatever he has to absorb out of his environment, and whenever this thing is over, now after dog ka yoni, whether he has other vasanas to fulfill before he's born, at some point of time he will be, when he is ready, he will be born as a human being again to pursue the path of self-realization again. ओके, पर भोग योनि तो भोग योनि है, आपके पास कोई चॉइस नहीं है, बट आफ्टर दैट यू विल बी बोर्न इन अ डिफरेंट डिस्ट्रिक्ट, राइट? बट बिफोर कमिंग टू द यूनि ऑफ डॉग, और क्या उसके कर्म थे विल डिटरमिन कि यार वो एक गली में बॉर्न हुआ है जहाँ पे एवरी डे ही हैज टू बी द कारोफाइड, और ही इज बॉर्न इन अ फैमिली वेयर ही इज बीइंग टेकन केयर ऑफ, वेदर ही इज गॉट द सेंट्स की उसको वो मिल रही है, वो उसके बाकी जो कर्म थे उसके ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा ना.
We can do takeaways, that'd be great.
46, okay. Yeah, आज actually 13 and 14 दोनों की.
We did this.
This and this only, ना?
And this.
कहाँ किया?
We just finished this.
Yeah.
We just finished reading this.
हाँ, ये 15. Okay. Who wants to go first?
I
I'll
think
go.
Mr. Lakshmi, start.
Thank you. My takeaway is today is a little more deeper. Like he Abhinav, so like it's open eye. If you are I have to practice this way now from today onwards. Like the sattvic, the bhav, like your thinking is a sattvic, but how once you do the thing or guiding someone, the not result, how the outcome is, that also should be the sattvic. So it's how you're feeling, it's a peace inside. And then in case if you're guiding the same way that I'm not taking that pride. So if I taking the pride, then it's a ego still there. So I have to work on that.
Excellently articulated, Mr. Lakshmi. You really understood the point well. You really understood all aspects of it. Fantastic. Very well articulated. Rituj.
Yeah, my takeaways have been that similar only, that first I want to identify what kind of duties I'm performing. Either I'm doing it for adulation or, just feed my ego for validation, or am I doing it for God? So again, the karmi yoga bit of dedicating the action to God only, and just dedicating the result and not being attached to it is something I want to practice. And also, what my last thought in my life is going to be, what are the actions I do throughout my life. So I have to choose what kind of actions, which is basically the karma yoga and just doing it for God, and the sattvic thing is my goal, as opposed to rajasic or tamasic, where you mentioned about being judgmental about others or being judgmental about oneself. So
I'll just correct one point. It's not the actions you do your entire life. It's the bhav with which you do the actions your entire life. Gunas exist at the bhav level. The actions will happen.
okay.
I go next. For me, it is Tamoguna, like you said, the overt form is very rare in all of us. So mostly, how subtly it has ingrained in us. We never thought, okay, we are doing Gita. We are mostly away from Satoguna. So I mean, away from Tamoguna. So far, I would think like that. Like maybe I don't have that much of it. But now looking at it, the subtler form of it is prevalent mostly in almost all our activities, like our ego, our pride, our desires. We, like in the garb of duty, a lot of things creep in. So that is where we have to be aware, and maybe it's very tough to discern every activity at that level. But yeah, that's work in progress, I suppose. That is the biggest takeaway today. Yeah.
The beauty
And
of
then
the beauty, sorry, not to cut you short, but the beauty of what you just shared, it sounds very tough, but it's like the woodcutter and the axe, right? At one point, when you start cutting, right? You will start realizing every time you cut, it's not just one act in which you've become clear. It'll happen in many acts at the same time, because your habits will start changing. So automatically, all your actions, you'll start realizing, will become Sataguni. So the difficult part is only the inertia piece that Tuvina talks about. Difficulty is the difficulty of starting. That's Tamoguni. Always. It's like exercise. Everyone loves what it feels like after you exercise, but nobody likes the starting.
Starting.
और एक
True.
बार स्टार्ट हो जाए, then you get addicted to that, फिर वो continuously चलता
Right.
रहेगा. फिर किसी वजह से स्टॉप हो जाए, अगर आपने उसको फटाफट नहीं वापस से चालू किया, then that inertia of not doing it sets in.
Right.
Like I'm
Like
speaking
just
from a
like
personal.
exercise.
हाँ,
Exercise also.
बिल्कुल. तो फिर वो inertia ही चलाता रहेगा. फिर उसको ब्रेक करो, उसमें कितना एफर्ट जाएगा टू ब्रेक इट, टू गेट स्टार्टेड ऑन दैट एक्सरसाइज थिंग. सो इट्स इम्पोर्टेंट कि एक बार एक अच्छी एक्टिविटी या अच्छी बिहेवियर आपका सेट हो गया है, तो बस उसको चला के ही रखो. सो देन यू यूज तमोगुण एज द इनर्शिया ऑफ तमोगुण इन द सर्विस ऑफ सतोगुण. वो बहुत जरूरी है. तो एक बार सेट हो गया तो सेट हो गया. सो फोकस ऑन क्रिएटिंग न्यू एक्शंस टू क्रिएट गुड हैबिट्स. एक बार वो फॉर्म हो गई, वो आपको चला के ले जाएंगे.
You had a second takeaway. I'm sorry I cut you short.
No, the second one is about continuing the sadhana to keep our most prominent guna as sato guna, so that towards the end of life that comes and not others don't take over. That is the main purpose probably. That's about it.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I'll go next. So what we read in Shloka 13, that while doing any duty, if a desire comes up, we know that Rajaguna has taken the control, right? So no matter how much we try to do the duty with like a good bhav, like for God or for the betterment or welfare of other people, sometimes it's just the one thing which comes in, like still the one thing which still comes in, it's like I did it, or like I was able to do it, like thankfully I got the time this time to do it, or oh somehow I managed to do it, but it's not I who did it, right? So like even though all other things, if we are able to control, I think that for me this thing comes in like, oh, I at least did it, but no, I did not do it. So that is what I'll keep in mind. And also in Shloka 15, what we read, that we are in human form, and only in human form we have the freedom to choose our bhav and perform our duties, and we still waste, I still waste so much time doing things which I know that I'm wasting, but we still waste because there are so many things to do and we are still wasting time. But just day by day, days passing and months and years are passing, and it's like we should make every day count, every moment count, and use every moment to reflect on all these things which we have been reading in Gita.
Phenomenal takeaway, Bhagyashree, both of them. First one, that how much of I-ness comes into every action. And you have spoken for every single one of us. Every one of us has that sense of I-ness, ki maine kiya, which is the biggest manifestation and the sometimes the subtlest manifestation of ego. Hai na? So that is one very important thing, and it's amazing to have that realization and vocalize it, so that it becomes center stage to our awareness, right? So that is one very important takeaway. And the second one is this whole thing ki jante hue bhi we don't use our time well, and that is the preponderance of tamogun in our life. It is tamogun that keeps us addicted to our old ways of being, our old patterns, behaviors, habits, and actions. That is what causes us to not break out of doing or living life the way we've always led, and make changes so that we move on the path of self-realization in a faster fashion. है ना? So that is also a very important takeaway, and that is where you see कि यार, this is preponderance of tamogun in me. This is that inertia in me, where I'm living life the same way as I was before.
Yeah.
And I'll come back to this in the end, after taking Kakuli's takeaway. I want to talk a little bit about tomorrow. We are starting Anushtan, and I want to spend a little bit of time on that. Yes, Kakuli.
So for me, basically, I got an opportunity to have a one-on-one with Abhinav last week, and you all know that there was an issue I wanted to talk to him about, and it is so relatable now because it came out that all my life I have been working in every role. I've been working only for acknowledgement, like whether I'm a mother or as a wife or in my workplace as a friend, everything I do for anyone, even for our helper, like who is like, as Tuhina was saying, so relatable because she does everything, even giving food to God. She never forgets, even when I skip for a day. But everywhere I have acted asking for acknowledgement always. So my bhav has not been right, and from last week after I came back, I had been thinking about it, and it is not easy because it's a habit now. It is not easy, but I'm just stopping myself and I'm telling, no, but this is for God. He's given me an opportunity and I'm trying to do the swaha of that. So that was my, and not to judge anyone. I mean, just, getting up and thinking that, oh, this has been done. This person is this. So it was really thanks to Abhinav. He spent time and explained to me where I was going wrong. And number two, the Shloka 15, it makes so much of sense now that I would have done a lot of, my soul, not I, sorry, the soul would have done a lot of hard work to reach this life where I'm getting the satsangs, where I have even found a guru. And if Abhinav had used a word, don't let the blessings be clouded by the way you are thinking about anything. So I'm very, very mindful. And today is again kind of a stamp on that. I have to be mindful so that I can only go forward towards self-realization and not go backward into one of the lower realms. Yeah.
Amazing takeaway.
That is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think what Kakuli just shared is again a hallmark for what every one of us experiences on a daily basis, right? It's a Maslow's hierarchy, right? And it's very well defined. Maslow's hierarchy exists as a social law because every one of us subscribes to it, whether we know it or we don't. है ना? So starting में, we are all striving for the basics of life. रोटी कपड़ा मकान, right? कि वो अपने को मिलना चाहिए, and we are constantly striving to better ourselves on that. Once we have that satisfied, we are of course still continuing as an animal to try and find better ways, right? एक कार मिल गई, अब 2 कार मिलनी चाहिए. एक घर हो गया, अब 4 घर बनने चाहिए मेरे इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए. मेरे को अब हॉलीडे होम चाहिए क्योंकि उसके पास है, राइट? हॉलीडेज होने लगे तो अरे हॉलीडेज यहाँ क्यों, मुझे फॉरेन हॉलीडेज चाहिए. फॉरेन हॉलीडेज होने लगे तो फॉरेन हॉलीडेज में भी आई वांट टू लिव इन 5 स्टार, व्हाई शुड आई स्टे इन अ 3 स्टार होटल? एंड फॉरेन हॉलीडेज में भी नाउ व्हाई शुड आई ट्रैवल इकोनॉमी, आई वांट टू ट्रैवल बिजनेस क्लास ऑल द टाइम. Constant, like there is no end to this, है ना? One form or the other, it keeps coming up, and this is a very animalistic behavior. वो कर लिया, ये सारा जब हो गया, उसके बाद now we want acknowledgement, and we want fame, and we want acceptance, and we want everybody to think how great we are. Every one of us, every single one of us. And this is the trap. हम लोग पहले वाले ट्रैप से शायद जल्दी निकल जाते हैं because it's so gross and it's so in your face कि we all are like, हाँ I don't want this. We physical, all my physical hoarding नहीं करूँगी, right? I think all of us will very quickly reach that stage where we are able to, at that gross form, able to overcome that in most cases, ठीक है? लेकिन ये जो acknowledgement, fame, acceptance वाला जो part है is the trap that, like, Kakuli has cracked it because she has gone through a deep level of introspection and vocalized it and accepted it and is now like, I am actively going to work on that part. So she has cracked it for herself now. Now now she can never be unaware of that pattern of behavior. So she will only progress higher on that path. The rest of us, if we have not figured it out, we will stay trapped in it without knowing that we are trapped. Okay? But be rest assured that every one of us is in that space or will reach that space after we've crossed the first level. And it's Maslow's hierarchy. At some stage, then we have to break through that, figure it out how it is affecting me and where it is affecting me, where that part is coming and ruining my good actions in the garb of duty. That 15th shloka, right? That part that we read, 14, 15, whatever that one was, right? Where it very clearly stated कि यार हम मेहनत भी कर रहे हैं, सारे right actions कर रहे हैं. But this one part will come in and it is going to ask for that acknowledgement and it is going to ruin everything that we've done. Sara hard work bhi kiya and then we don't get the highest benefit that we can get. Then we'll get that low benefit. किसी ने acknowledge कर दिया, हमको happiness मिल गई. But very transitory. It will go away in the next second. If we are doing so much hard work, सब correct actions कर ही रहे हैं, might as well go for the first prize, na? Why settle for the third or fourth or fifth prize? That's what we end up doing. Phenomenal, phenomenal. Thank you so much, Kakuli. Very inspirational. It's not easy how vulnerable you make yourself and how it's very difficult to have these conversations, to look into your basement and to not get afraid and shut it all down. To say ki nahi, I will have the bravery of walking into that darkness and experience whatever it is that needs to be experienced. And I will stay with it long enough for it to like go away. It's a very difficult path. And thank you for showing all of us that courage to do so.
And also, but it is a very safe space. So just a shout out to Abhinav that day. He made it so safe and for everyone. If you all have any issue, I mean, to Abhinav, I think you all can have these one-on-one. Maybe it will just break something within you and make you think once. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Kakuli. So I just want to spend I know we are like 2 minutes above time, but just a couple of minutes I want to spend on talking about the Anushtan that is starting tomorrow. So it's a Chaturmas. In Indian scriptures is a concept of Chaturmas. The 4 months which are where the energies are very high, where they say that devas are rising up, right? So it is a very good time period and energies are aligned for us to try and absorb some of that energy and increase the satogun in us or at least break the tamogun in us. है ना? तो अनुष्ठान का the concept of अनुष्ठान is to help us create new satoguni karma and which will break our tamogun, break our inertia. It is that skill set. Like I said with Vedant, it is not the homework that is important. It is the skill set that he develops of developing the persistence, of knowing what is the right thing to do and doing that over and above his pleasure or ability to prioritize, that skill set to plan, right? It is that what is more important than the actual homework. So the concept of Anushtan is exactly the same. So over next 4 months, the Anushtans that starts tomorrow, there are certain things that we do and we don't do, right? As a part of, and it is all following Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. And the first 2 limbs are the do's and the don'ts. So this prescribes certain don'ts, which is that and very basic stuff, okay? Nothing very heavy actually, but जब हम करने लगते हैं तो हमें समझ में आता है कि even basic stuff हमारे लिए कितना heavy हो जाता है because of the preponderance of tamogun in us. So this is, that we are not going to consume alcohol. We will not eat meat. We will not eat eggs. That's the very basic don'ts that are prescribed. The very basic do's that are prescribed is you have to wake up between 4 and 6 a.m. every single day, no matter what. And trust me, life will get into the way where you will end up being sick. You will end up, I had some work to do. I was tending to my sick child or sick relative. And so I slept at 3 a.m. How can I get up at 6 a.m.? Right? All of this will happen and life will come and show you how I'm going to challenge you on your Anushtan. Okay. So wake up at 4 to 6 a.m. and there is small amount of puja that has been prescribed. You will take on the puja or the activity at a level of sadhana that you are at. Pick a level that you can continue for the next till end of November, right? It starts tomorrow, it ends on November 12th. तब तक आप जो continue कर सको. For example, from June 17th, from tomorrow till end of June, we are supposed to do Hanuman Chalisa. You can do 7 times a day, you can do 11 times a day, you can do 21 times a day, you can do 52 times, you can do 108 times, right? Choose the level that will challenge you anyway. Just like yoga. योगा में जब आसन कराते हैं ना, तो उतने लेवल का कराते हैं जहां पे आपके लिए सुख हो. Whatever like gives you don't have to do headstand, right? So similarly, if you are starting out, take 7. Don't take 1, it will not challenge you. Okay, it doesn't make any difference. 7, and 7 doesn't have to be done in one sitting. You do in 1 or 2 or 3 in one sitting if you're taking only 7, and do it through the rest of the day. But do 7 on a daily basis, right? If you're already used to doing 7 and you find 7 is not challenging you, it may not challenge you honestly in the first 7 days, in the first 1 month. At some point of time, it will start to challenge you because the consistency itself is a challenge for most of us, given the tamoguni nature that we are in. Okay? So take a sadhana, take there are levels given, take the level. Maybe if you're doing this Anushtan for the very first time or doing it only the second time or in early stages, please take on the first level of sadhana. But make sure you do it consistently through this time. It is a phenomenal exercise to break our tamogun and for us to learn about ourselves. कि हम किस तरह से, when we are trying to form good habits, how quickly or what reasoning our mind gives us, what reasoning our intellect that is driven by likes and dislikes gives us to break those habits, to continue to go back into our old way of being. And this period of 4 months will teach us, if we do this with a full surrender to Bhagwan Ji, देखो, and we'll fall again and again. Falling does not hurt. ठीक है, गिर गए. Where the learning is कि हम गिरे क्यों? What caused me to fall? And what do I have to fight inside of me to get back on the track again? That will cause you to open your boxes in your basement. So this Anushtan is for that purpose. To get us to find that. See, end of the day, one thing you will realize is that we only and only and only grow in the space of suffering. There is no growth without suffering. There's no growth without pain. आप कुछ भी कह लो. So if you are in a space of complete rest and relaxation, which is also important, right? There is no growth there. There is only rejuvenation. And beyond a certain time, pleasure is only going to weaken our senses. तो अगर हमारे पास सब कुछ अपना भगवान जी ने हमें सब कुछ दिया ही है, now invite a little bit of suffering at your own pace to cause growth at your own pace. And slowly and slowly and slowly increase that pace year after year after year, so that your rate of growth also increases. So I will invite every single one of you to take this Anushtan up. Every one of us will find reasons to not do it. Every one of us will find reasons to break it after we start it. Even if we are feeling enthused today, we will find a reason to break it after 1 week, after 1 month, after 2 months. I'll invite you to first look at the Anushtan, join the Anushtan WhatsApp group. I'll share the WhatsApp group after this. Read through whatever is written there. Understand there are various things that have to be done in different times to keep the variety going. Okay, so that we don't get bored. So things change every few days. All right. But all activities are such that they will increase the satogun in us. And more importantly, break the tamogun in us. And as we will fall, all of us will fall. All of us will at some stage fail. Okay, trust me on that. Whatever stage we are at, we will have a breakdown. And we will have breakdown after breakdown after breakdown in this Anushtan. Those breakdowns are our window of opportunity to see what caused the breakdown. What is it that I need to fight? What is it that I need to surrender to Bhagwan Ji? And in this, do it with what Bhagyashree said. I did not do it. Don't have that I-ness in it. Bhagwan ji ke samne baitho, surrender to Bhagwan ji and say, I want to do it with all my being. And I know I will face a lot of adversities. I need your guidance. I surrender myself to you. Show me how to do it. And every time you fall, find out what caused you to fall and how. And when you learn to get up in this Anushthan, you will develop a mental muscle to find a way to get past what life throws in your way, to go and do what you need to do. That mental muscle is what will cause you to be able to achieve whatever else you want to achieve in your life. Because हम लोग बड़े बड़े goals बनाते हैं और वो हम goals कभी achieve नहीं करते हैं because of these mental behavior patterns where as soon as life gets in the way, we fall down, and then either we fall down and we keep falling down, or we never get back up. And they are the same thing, same demons. They are not different. They are exactly the same demons again and again, which come up in different forms. You conquer them in this Anushthan, and you will find a different life experience after that. Okay? And keep pushing your boundaries year after year in every Anushthan that comes up. Okay? Start at a lower level this time, and then increase that level every time as you move forward with life. So I'm going to share the WhatsApp group, chat group link. Please join and start it. Every one of you must do this Anushthan. And if you are not choosing to do this Anushthan, I will invite you to give me a call before you decide not to do it. Okay? And as your facilitator, trust me, I'm going to check who all have joined that group. Not because I want to harrow you, not because I want to control you, but because I really think this is an important exercise. It's like theory hum log kar rahe hain class mein. This is a practical. And this practical will help you learn about yourself, and this practical will help you go on, increase your journey. वरना वो theory पढ़ के कुछ नहीं होगा. ठीक है? So please join, and if you find yourself resisting, please give a call. Set up a one-on-one if required with Abhinav, and he will help you to discover what is it in us, what part of which type of tamogun it is in us that is preventing us from taking it on. And if you fall down during this time, me and Abhinav will stand by you to help you figure out what caused you to fall down, what caused that breakdown, and what can you do to get over that breakdown. ठीक है? Breakdowns होंगे, and it is okay, because those breakdowns are what we are looking for to discover what stops us in our life on a daily basis. Okay? So with that, we'll end this class, and I look forward
So
to
Bhagyashree,
starting
can we
this.
do closing shlokas?
Yeah. And I really look forward to, I'm really excited for all of us to begin this practical experiment in our lives, which will really help us grow. Okay? Thank
Yeah.
you.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ ॐ
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. One announcement, 30th June, we will not be doing a class. All other days we are on. We are traveling on 30th June, so we won't be able to take the class that day.
Thank you, Narayan.
And Narayan.